Good morning, all you magnificent melon heads of the world. I'm actually on family vacation this week, hence this genuine, authentic, totally real tropical paradise that you see in the background here.
Tesla's traded second most, up 8% on robo-taxi success. Big Bear's traded third, down 4%. And now we have HIMS, traded the fourth most, down 34% on a very bizarre situation. I guess Novo feels that HIMS has decided, I don't even know. HIMS is not cooperating in the spirit of their agreement, which is, I think Novo probably thought they should stop compounding. HIMS said, no, that's not going to work. If you guys recall what I said when the deal was closed, they said, well, it's not obvious what exactly the deal terms were. If they were just going to get a fee for service for pharmacy, that wasn't that exciting, right? That's a pretty low margin, not that exciting business. And if they have to stop compounding, then, well, I could want to get excited about that. But here we are. NVIDIA is down 50 bips, Circle's up 7%, just a juggernaut company. Quantum Computing Inc., which is basically our biggest short, is down 12%, 13%. They did a financing at $14.25. The stock closed at roughly 19 on Friday. So if you got in on the deal, stock was 19 on Friday, you got to buy it at 14.25. Think about that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Novo sued HIMS. D-Wave down 8%. Rocket Lab, strangely, is up. Yeah, so if you got the stock at 14.25, you might be selling it over here at 16. Well, that's where the demand was, so that's where they priced it. Yeah, I don't know. The HIMS thing's weird. I'm not sure what to do with that. We'll let the dust settle. I think you can do a pipe at any price. I think there's some rule on discount to market, but I don't think there's anything. I think D-Wave did their offering. They just did it in the ATM, which is much smarter. QUBT had to go find human beings who liked it, and that wasn't that smart. We are on INMB watch. That is correct. Yeah, you can box this afterwards, I think. You just can't do it before. When you buy a biotech stock, you have to be comfortable with it going to zero. Unfortunately, that is our industry. Oh yeah, Nektar data is coming. Compass hit its primary endpoint, still dropped. Compass down 50%. I didn't do a CoreWeave breakdown, but we did make fun of this guy.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do like a pack watch on INMB. I'm pretty sure it's gonna fail. That's my main focus. Oh, why are you so interested in trading HIMS? There's a million stocks out there. Zuck's trying to hire the best people in the world. Salute Zuck. I want a payout. 30%. 30% of everything I make for the Facebook balance sheet. That's funny, Marshall. Zuck always wins in the end, baby. Yeah, I don't know if we were done with QC or not, but D-Wave's down to 14. No, Sarepta's my biggest long. I might buy more. These are all the papers I've been reading for INMB. It's been a slow grind. Yeah, Luke, I mean, I think that's mostly what I want to focus on is INMB, just because I have a big position and the data's coming out any day now. You can buy puts on INMB. They'd probably settle a lawsuit. I don't know if that lawsuits are that material. Most of the time they're not. Jump in the situation room. That's part of the job of an investor. That is how it works. You have to be patient. The index ARB stuff is really interesting. There's a lot more people playing with index inclusions. No, that's pretty much it for INMB. Well, the 5 puts are one thing you could buy, the 7.5s, the 2.5s, the 10s. I mean, there's any put you want. Well, the price will probably drop, Lexar, my guess. I mean, the results of the trial are probably going to be pretty bad. I'm not touching HIMS. Yeah, the interesting thing about Immune is their half-life situation is a little weird. It's actually a very short half-life, but they're dosing it every week, which is a little weird. Yeah, the data's not out yet. Just the fact that they're doing a call means it's up 40%, which is wild. Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for causing my only friend in the world losses. But yeah, Nektar data tomorrow. I could see it be good. I don't know. This is a company that has like never, ever, ever succeeded. Oh my God, it's still 2 billion market cap. This company's never succeeded at anything. Yeah, I have some data here. Let's see. Oh, is it not 2 billion? Oh, because they did a split. I don't know if it's like that. Let's see, 186. They did a what, 15 for 1? This is a tough one. The temptation is to go long, right? It's trading below cash. Probably EV positive to be long. I think it's still below cash, yeah. It's a 15 for 1, right? Yeah, I don't want to gamble on it. The phase 1/2 data was a little bit, I mean, it wasn't bad. There are a lot of treatment options here. You have Dupixent, you have JAK inhibitors, It could be like 𝗕𝗏𝗄s. Like 𝗕𝗏𝗄s dropped 50% even though it met its primary endpoint. But this is a little different. I mean, you have it still sort of trading below cash. It's very tempting. The question is, do you have the wherewithal to go to phase 3? If the data's good, they raise money, they do phase 3. It's not too hard to get 1,000 kids with eczema. It is chemo, to be fair. This is basically Proleukin, which was used in renal cell carcinoma and metastatic melanoma before targeted therapy was a thing. These were like some of the first cytokines. IL-2 was one of the first cytokines cloned, and it just kicks up an immune storm. Yeah, it sort of does a weird immune reprogramming. And you get this very, very modest effect in renal cell where you get like this 5% response rate or something. It was like one of the worst drugs ever made, but it was kind of the advent of biotech, so it was kind of neat. And some people still believe that all the secrets are in IL-2, but I don't know. Immune isn't quite imploding yet. We'll get the data in any day now, but it's just thinly traded after hours. It's like ping pong with 100 shares back and forth. It's not a no call. Okay, so doing a call, no call would have been very odd. So a call, I mean, it's a highly anticipated event, so it's almost like a call is going to happen either way. But we've seen biological activity with this drug. That's not the question. The question is it good enough? Oh, they have an alopecia study too. This is 400 patients. This is like a phase 3. I mean, that's extremely definitive. They have U.S. sites? Oh, good. Phew. So 3 doses every 2 weeks. So is there a market for a weaker Rinvoq or a weaker Dupixent? And here the placebo low dose, the dose response is a little weird and placebo response is a little weird. It's just not that potent. And nobody really fails JAK inhibitors or fails Dupixent. Dupixent's just very expensive, but it kind of works really well. JAK inhibitors have safety questions. IL-2 has safety questions. Yeah, I don't know. It's the major question is, do you have the activation energy to get over doing a full phase 3 program to make like a so-so autoimmune drug? To me, that's like, I don't know. If it were me in big pharma, I would just say, you know what, they're greener pastures. Let's say you're the CEO of Pfizer, you're the CEO of J&J or Lilly or whatever, and you say, do I want to spend $200 some odd million doing a phase 3 or several phase 3s for a crowded disease state? I mean, Dupixent's pretty safe, so I just don't see the place that you can. Do you want to be third line atopic dermatitis? I mean, there are other therapies for eczema as well. There's, there's topicals, including topical JAK. Yeah, I just don't know that you want to be sandwiched in this market. But the reality is, I mean, even if you sell 200 million, you have a reason to live here. There are going to be docs that don't mind it. You still have safety profile questions. It's tempting. The risk reward is quite good. I mean, if the data's clean, you get a 10x. If it's not, what are you looking at? 30% decline? If you put a gun to my head and said you have to do something right now, I'd probably buy a little bit, just because if there was a complete flop, they wouldn't be doing a call. But I also wouldn't put too much stock in the call, as William, you said. I agree that, as a doc, I would be giving Dupixent first. And who doesn't respond to Dupixent? If Dupixent's bad on formulary, maybe you can give this guy. But there's new eczema drugs coming out as well that may be even more effective, right? We're looking at EASI 90 or EASI 100 in some cases. I don't think you want to be going backwards on efficacy. That usually doesn't portend well. Yeah, this one is a really tough one. If you want to be like Mr. Trader, that's one thing. But if you're like, a really safe assumption is like, because of our guest always joke, but it's kind of like between the difference between bullet and classical. It's like, and this isn't the perfect analogy, but there's kind of this perception in trading or investing that, let's say you are managing a fund the size of Baker Brothers or RTW or Perceptive or whatever, you can't dart in and out of $50 million of the stock. You're playing classical. But if you have an account that's $1 million or something like that, you can go in and out of this pretty quickly, and you could almost game the game. And and again, not a perfect analogy, but it sort of applies, I think, where you have like this, what is the reaction going to be? I'm sitting here kind of having my drug CEO hat on and my Baker Brothers institutional hedge fund kind of hat on, where it's like, no, I need to live and die by whether people are going to use this drug 6 years from now. But in reality, that doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, what matters is this a drug that's going to work or not? And so like Compass had data that's arguably, Compass has to get duration data, but it's data that, so the analogy doesn't work great, but like the Compass data is like, was good data. And I'm sitting there saying, I wouldn't mind selling this drug, 2 years from now or 3 years from now after FDA approval. But the market the market kind of like had the opposite reaction than you would have expected. So like the market should have been exuberant about meeting a primary endpoint in a situation where they could have easily failed. The Compass situation is a little bit, it's not exactly analogous, but yeah, I feel like there's a going on here. The Nektar expectations are so squashed. The market cap is still, below cash. It doesn't really help you that much. It can and will go to 6 if the data is really bad, but we know that the data is not going to be god awful, but it could still be bad like Compass, where people say what we're talking about right now, which is who wants to be in this weird sandwich. Again, maybe Novartis or maybe GSK says, I wouldn't mind selling a second place behind Dupixent or Rinvoq. It's easy to counter detail Rinvoq. JAK inhibitors are extremely dangerous. Yeah, so like, could I get this to 300 in revenue or 400 in revenue with just the profile they already announced? Probably. In which case, you have to factor in dilution, but the stock actually could be pretty exciting. I'm trying to think of other analogies to this. Like, it's a good one actually is that a company Apellis, but there's others. Yeah, I'd probably buy it, but we'll see. Yeah, I've been working on this program that I can't say it's going to redefine financial software or charts, but I'm really excited about it. It's if I can just get it to work, that'd be nice. I rented this monster from AWS. It's 192 cores, 1.5 terabytes of RAM. I do want to run Stockfish on it and see for once and for all if the French defense is any good, but I am trying to get it to hold the entire kind of like every tick in the stock market in memory and like do this interesting vector search. So like one of the things I'm going to do, you guys will get a kick out of this, is my girlfriend and I are doing this thing where we're making a site just like the puzzles on these sites. Like, where are the puzzles on this thing? Yeah, so here's my, I thought I was signed in. It's like you have a puzzle rating, but there's other things like this, like Code Forces or whatever, and Leet Code and stuff like that. So I have a 2005 puzzle rating, which is somewhat close to my classical rating, which is like 1800. So, which lead test ratings are very inflated, but the point is that imagine instead of this, okay, you had, a similar thing where like the ELO of the puzzle was whatever, let's say it was 2000. And instead of being a chess puzzle, of course, which is a little tired, it was a stock chart, whatever the chart was. And, you had your volume as well. And like, this is the ultimate question for people who think they can read charts, which is, well, if this chart is, is readable, you should be able to figure out the future, right? And so basically you can give them one or two options. You can basically say,
draw the next, I'm sorry. So we're trying to figure out what the best options are. We could probably make two modes, but the first is like, okay, so here is the demarcation line. I'll explain what this has to do with my program in the beginning. But this is the demarcation line of when you're supposed to predict what happens after. And again, if you're a chartist, you might say, all right, well, I don't know. I've got this bounce off support or whatever, it's a channel and, the volume accumulation dropped here. So, whatever, you guys know how I feel about charts, but that's the point. And then you select, you could either draw, you can we'll basically say, okay, like here's the area we want you to continue from here and draw what happened. And we could do like a least squares estimate best fit of like how you compare it against the reality. Maybe reality was that. This actually would have been a pretty close fit. But it could also have been reality was that and you did terrible. And so, we can then rank you versus random, like a random estimate. And we could also, instead of doing like draw, we can just give you like 4 buttons, like, -3% to, to infinity, -3 to 0, plus 0 to +3%, and 3% to infinity. And basically, a machine would have a 25% chance of getting these right. And I contend that the average user will have a 25% chance. And in fact, the distribution will not be very good in the sense that like over time, most people will have like the same distribution as a machine with enough sample. So this is ultimately like a very, 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 very kind of nasty experiment about like, well, if you think technical analysis works, then make it work. Show me that it works. Show me that you can predict the future. And, people generally say, well, this isn't the way that, I do technical analysis. I look at the company, what they do and so forth. And then, I can add that as well. There's so many, funny kind of ways to do this. And it really kind of, gives you this like, and you can pass on a chart if you wanted as well, possibly, but this sort of gives you a very rough, a really strong test of like, is this falsifiable, right? If you can prove that there's edge in charts, I mean, we don't know how you draw the charts, right? That's on you. I only know if you got it right or wrong. So if you know how to draw it, you should be able to prove it. You could use whatever methods you want to draw them. So, I think it'll be pretty clear that nobody can do this at scale easily. Now, what the program does is kind of fun. It searches for an n tuple of vectors that are equivalent to these. So let's say this is the current chart for, say Palantir. Well, if support and resistance exist and they're useful, you should be able to prove to me that they're useful. Show me where they're useful. Show me how they're useful. If there's actual value there to be had, you should be able to, just like a fork in chess is useful. Well, great. You should look for forks or situations where you can induce a fork or whatever. But, I know in chess, like I win material when I hit a fork, but in stock trading, what does resistance mean to me? I don't know how I can interpret that. How do I use that? So anyway, here's the point of this is that you have this 30 tuple of 1 minute candles. These are connected in a straight line. Let's say there are 30 candles here. It's just laborious to draw the candles, but let's say you have these 30 candles. Well, I can just go into this. I have a 4 billion 30 tuple kind of series here for the last 20 years of the stock market on 30-second, and I can make them 30-minute or whatever you want kind of candles, and it goes to this database and finds the closest fit. So maybe you'd find something that was like, I don't know, like this. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. Remember, I get to see every 30 period ensemble or vector ever in the stock market. So there's got to be something that matches it closely. And the question is, let's say this is real time, right? This is right now. This is 5:06 p.m. Imagine the market's not closed or something, but whatever. It's 2 hours ago, 3:06 p.m. And you want to know, it's 1 second. You want to know what the next 30 seconds looks like, right? Well, I could show you in the past kind of what this red line continued to do. And if it matches so great with the blue line, maybe that means you might want to be long for the next 30 seconds or so. And so this is the idea behind that. I'm not sure what roll-bit is. Does roll-bit do something like this? This is a pretty hard program to write. Yeah, it's kind of nobody's ever done it, and I think it's really interesting. And the point is, it's kind of interesting to look at it. Amgen reported their obesity drug data. I like it. I got to buy some at a decent price. I don't think the data was nearly as bad as some made it out to be. I think it'll recover. There's like 100 shares being traded back and forth on INMB. It's really not that big of a deal. Yeah, I have this like generic autoimmune disease. I have a little dermatitis. I have nasal polyposis. I have a little bit of asthma. I wouldn't say Novo's in shambles, but yeah. I don't think I can lift the bench bar. What's the bar, 40? 45. You shortchanged me 5 pounds. All right, let me see what's this puzzle. All right, I should be able to do something wild here.